Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Michael Santucci, an audiologist, president of Sensophonics, Inc., and inventor of the new 3D-ME in-ear monitor system by ASI. Today, I'm joined by Paul Raci. How did you even fit us in your schedule? Paul is lead singer of the band Hands of Doom and a recent adapter of our 3D-ME in-ear monitor system. Of course, Paul, as most people will know after seeing this, is also an Academy Award nominated actor for his performance in The Sound of Metal, which is a feature film up for Best Picture, and Paul is up for Best Supporting Actor. So I'm so glad that you're here today.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, great. So tell us about your band, which people know about your acting career, but you've got quite a list of accomplishments. But tell us about your band and kind of your performance style and where you play and tour and such.
Well, it's a Black Sabbath tribute band, which we're here in Los Angeles, and there's about, I swear to God, Michael, there's about 13 or 14 bands here that do Black Sabbath. Some of them are pretty good. But so they even have a yearly. When I came back to music here in LA, because I've been acting for so long, I stopped doing music for a couple of years. Then I got the itch again, found these guys and auditioned for them. They made me audition 5 times, and it was back and forth. So one day, because I have such a background with deaf people, one day we decided to do one song a couple of years ago in sign language, meaning I have a headset on, I would be singing Ozzy, we did Tomorrow's Dream, and I did it in sign language. Well, the thing went viral. It went viral not only with deaf people, it went viral with hearing people. So much so that the 3 guys in the band came to me and they said, hey, we might have something here that's unique. Why don't you do the whole show in sign language? I'm like, oh, brother, now what have I started? Because this is, interpreting, because the English language and American Sign Language are 2 different grammar structures, syntax, everything's different. So I have to sing and at the same time do this thing in sign language. So we did it. We opened our first show with that whole show. We do an hour and a half of the first 8 albums, all Ozzy, the only ones that count, really. So we do songs from the first 8 albums, and we have we do the clubs here in Southern California. We hope to be going on tour probably next year because we're going to do an album of originals. We got this band is smoking hot. I got a smoking hot 3 guys that I would never hang around with in real life, but they're awesome musicians, man. So that's what we do. When you come to a club to see us, it's, heavy metal headbangers and about 30 to 40 deaf people that come into the club from the ages of 21 to 50, 60 years old. And they love the vibration. They love the stories that are being told because Sabbath is so prolific, God, the devil, nuclear
and that's
destruction.
What they miss when they're deaf. They can get the rhythm because of the low bass frequencies and they can feel it, but they never get the story.
Exactly. So instead of just a boom, 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 they're getting this all this stuff off of the body language and the hands.
Cool.
Oh, it's really cool. And you get to watch the interaction between hearing people are going, what the hell are deaf people doing? What's going on? Well, there's so many different levels of deafness and degrees. Some people, of course, So some people can hear quite a bit. Some can't hear anything. Like my father couldn't hear it. He was deaf as a post, as they say. But other people have bits of hearing. So it's an enjoyable show regardless. And people enjoy it. And we're going to be doing some this Saturday. So we're going in San Bernardino for
really? This week? Oh,
this Saturday, our first show in a year, yeah.
Is that like half full, half quarter? Or what do you get to pack a whole room up?
It's at a bar in San Bernardino called the Marquee Lounge. I'm vaccinated up, but I'm going to be wearing a mask except on stage.
Yeah.
And I'm still being cautious because,
Of course, and there's other people. So what led you to try our system, our new 3D-ME
Well, I had been now listen, I'd never had the experience of in-ear monitors. Even when I started up with this band, I wasn't even aware. When I got back from Vietnam, I had a David Bowie band. We did Ted Nugent. It was a cover band. But in those days, there was nothing like this. So from my understanding is this started coming around in the 80s. So I started singing with this
late
band.
80s, yeah.
Late 80s, okay. So when I started with Hands of Doom, I got some stuff online, some in-ears, and I ended up going to a gig, and you're in the middle of the first song. You just rip them out. Like, this, the hell with this. But this is bullshit. But all you got is your monitor feed and what's happening on stage. And Michael, I've got tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to say it.
Call it tinnitus.
Tinnitus. I had it from all the way back when I was on an aircraft carrier in Vietnam. I was the hospital corpsman. I worked on the flight deck with these mechanics and pilots. And they're my age now. I'm 73. And these guys are all deaf now because of the work they did.
The aircraft carriers, the jets hitting the deck, there's no way to protect because it all comes up through bone conduction. They're really struggling to find ways to keep that sound from getting into the ears.
Well, we had Mickey Mouse ears that were about as paper thin as this piece of paper right here. We'd have mine in our ears. That company should be sued. But we're running around. Then I get out of Vietnam and I join a band again, and there's no protection. So anyway, and I started using stuff that I was buying online, that I found, trying to help myself. Well, we went to not this past NAMM show, but the one before it, before COVID. We walked around, and Evan was there with a couple of representatives, and I saw the system, tried it out. And what really got me was I was amazed that I could hear people across the hall that were talking. So I envied that. I was like, God, this sounds good. I wish I had that. And so now I do. And I got to tell you, I was struggling with how to set it up technically because I'm just that way with anything, computers or whatever. But now it's another ball game for me.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, so is it felt the interaction with the bandmates? One of the things that we've heard from people is, when you're isolated with ear monitors, suddenly you lose all your localization cues. Your drummer was back here, the crowd's over here, but now they're all in the middle of your head, or they have some technologies that they kind of move it around a little bit, but it doesn't really sound like you're in this space where you move and it goes right with you. And so people end up pulling one out, like you're saying, or loosening them and all that stuff, which is bad for your hearing.
Right.
The idea on these microphones was to be able to hear outside, get your localization and spatial cues back. And if you don't like the way it sounds, whether it's because you got a bad mix from somebody at a club, whether it's because your hearing's been compromised, whatever the case, you can use an app to correct any deficiencies in the mix or your hearing and really have a great show while protecting yourself from getting worse. And that's kind of the idea behind it.
Exactly. So the big benefit at rehearsal is my lead guitarist, we're in the middle of something, he always walks up to me and he goes, so, what, dude? So I have to pull it out. So now I've got the in-ear mics, and I have the custom mades, so they're really in there. And when he walks over me, all I got to do is do a little click on my box, and I can hear him. I can hear whatever my band.
It's that click on the box that you can go to your preset. This is how I want it to sound while I'm performing, but this is how I want it to sound when somebody's talking to me.
Right.
Which is usually something different that helps you hear a little bit better and not so plugged up.
Because it was always annoying to me to have to pull out that little, earplug, and then I got to put it back in, make sure it's secure. So that's solved, and that helps a lot, especially.
And how about the EQ? Are you using that at all?
I'm trying to understand what it's about, and I'm getting them every time I put the things on at rehearsal. Now, listen, Saturday night's my first gig with these things, so I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be great, but I'm still learning on how to equalize everything in the room. So I'm still playing with it.
Yeah, well, I always tell everybody, and I've learned this from some of the greatest monitor engineers in the world, less is more. So don't go too crazy, find a mix that you like and you don't have to do all this tweaking and other things. The idea of the product is to allow you to perform without thinking. You can concentrate on performing. Right, and hopefully that's the idea. Just forget that they're in, make it sound transparent, right?
Exactly. I think that was my problem in the beginning. When I got it weeks ago, I was expecting too much and I was trying to do too much. Why isn't this working? And finally, when the custom pieces came, that was just nice.
That does make a difference because, look, let's face it, no two ears are alike, not even your own. And a lot of the generic Christmas tree foamies work for a number of people, but it's usually about 30 or 40%. Everybody else is suffering with leaks and slits, and then they end up putting a bunch of speakers in the earphone to compensate for all the stuff draining out because it doesn't fit good and all that stuff. So because my career has been built on keeping people from losing their hearing, that's, I know that's not something everybody thinks about in the music industry, but that's the only thing I think about is the artists that I work with and their hearing, keeping it intact. And I imagine the movie really plays to any musician. Not that, it kind of looked at the movie Sound of Metal and they don't imply that his hearing loss was from playing drums, right? Metal drums, but
right.
But it really probably could be from anything. The idea is the trauma of not having hearing, and especially as a musician. And of course, in my clinic here, I see a lot of people that have been around for years, and they act okay and macho out in the real world, but they come in here and they tell me, I play by muscle memory. I can't hear anything anymore, and they cry. So we're trying to keep people working. And so do you have any advice for younger musicians coming into clubs now that things are opening up?
Oh, Michael,
Something that you learned over the years to kind of a pearl of wisdom for them?
Well, one thing is don't give up on your dream, whatever that dream is. I would always just encourage you to keep on going. An artist has to be an artist. If you're a player, you got to play. But all I can say is when I got back from Vietnam, going to see guys like Robin Trower and Queen in concert and putting my head right in those sound systems. Are you crazy?
I used to do the same, and I'm an audiologist. I wasn't then, but I'd run to the front for Led Zeppelin to get as close, and they didn't fly the PA. They just stacked them on the stage. So if you got close to the stage, they were aimed at your head.
Right. And when you get home and you hear that little E going on in there,
the ringing's going on and your hearing feels all muffled. Yes, I've gone through that. Kind of motivated me as a musician to do something about hearing for musicians.
Right. I would just say you should really try. I bought those. I have plugs that when I go to clubs, I use these little eargasms, and I go, I really protect myself. I'm not going to play that game anymore. You guys have got to, most of the musicians that I know here that I play with are afraid and uncomfortable to see the movie because it's a musician's worst nightmare.
Yes.
But I would encourage you to see it because this is real. You know that it's real, and this can happen to you, especially if you're younger and wild and abandoned and you don't care. I know life is beautiful, isn't it? But dude, when you get to be a little bit older, it's going to affect the way you make a living. You've got to think about this. All the more reason to. Now I'm so glad this Saturday I'm going to be on stage with a Black Sabbath band that plays loud, and I'm going to be able to be when you hear a guy hitting that snare, the way my guy pounds it, I feel it in the core of my bone in here. But last night at rehearsal, I got these great things, and he's pounding them, and it's just I'm totally protected.
And what's great is everybody can choose their own amount of protection with this thing. So if your guitar player says that snare isn't too loud for me, I need to, you have options to turn it up, down, and limit it from getting too providing too much injury or other things.
The other thing I want to mention about this thing, we do Killing Yourself to Live. It's one of Sabbath's. I love that song. By
the way, I've worked with Sabbath twice now. And,
you have?
And Ozzy for a number of different things through the years. I used to do all the Ozfest when they were
Oh,
running.
dude. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
We do it. We do everything in C sharp. It's a step and a half down, so I can actually sing it. But there's 2 songs or 3 songs we have to go down to B, and it's still hard to hit his notes because he's insane. But with these in-ear monitors, I can actually push a little higher and reach for a note. So I'm learning how to work with that, and that's really, even the band guys go, oh, wait a minute, you hit that note, because I usually go down on it, but now I'm able to go up. So it's awesome. Oh yeah,
Fantastic. Well, is there where are you playing? Should you want to make an announcement so everybody shows up?
Well, yes, I'll say we're playing in San Bernardino at the Marquee Lounge this Saturday, but May 1st, we're opening PD's Lounge in Tarzana. And if you're in Southern California, you'll know where that is. And we're just starting to book stuff now. So that's our next gig, May 1st at PD's Rock and Roll Bar in Tarzana. And who knows, when this movie, when the Oscars are in 2 weeks, so when that happens, I don't know what's going to happen. The S is hitting the fan right now, so I'm busy.
Congrats on your awards and your nominations and
Thanks, man.
all the things, well deserved. I thought the movie was fantastic. You were great in it.
Oh, thanks, man.
Then I realized, I said, man, this guy's such a great signer. He must have really worked a long time. And then I read your Wikipedia page and you're born to deaf parents. I go, well, no wonder he signed so well.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's my first language. So.
All right, Paul, thank you so much for your time. And this is really enjoyable. Good luck with it all.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm pulling for you. I'll be hoping for you. And you deserve it all, man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you very much. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.